You're good, Kate.
Okay, great.
So it's been a long time. Didn't we do this once when on FX Street?
Yeah, I think we were waiting for a top all those years ago, so that didn't quite happen.
No, I think we did one on FX Street.
Yeah, we did, and I think we were looking, back then. I think it was trying to sort of thinking all this doom and gloom, which never happened, and we just kept going and kept going and kept going. I would say my astrology is probably my financial astrology. That is a lot more developed.
Do you want to share your screen? Do you have anything to show us?
Look, I can't because my computer did a Mercury retrograde, but I did put a couple of things on my Twitter if you can show it. I just threw up a chart of California, which is really quite alarming for next year.
Okay, so what are you talking about? Earth changes?
Okay, Coach, why don't you share your screen?
I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to. Let's see. Okay.
From that chart last year, I was sitting and I said to a friend of mine before the earthquake, I think there's going to be an earthquake in California, because we were talking about some, financial astrology, and what I'll probably tell a lot of your listeners, I kind of learned to trade on Wall Street, and I worked for a fund on Wall Street, and I worked for a Forex fund. So I'm not your typical velvet astrologer. I'm a trader who uses astrology. So, I'm sort of always really coming from a trading aspect. And then for me, I guess the financial astrology is a bit like a confirmation bias or a tool that I use.
Okay. It gives you your biases, Kate?
Sorry, what's that?
It gives you your biases.
Yeah, I mean, the chart is, a proper stock chart is always number one. I would never take a trade without a chart, and I think I use the financial astrology for time, and then the timing combined with the chart entry is how I put it together to know that my risk and my reward is the absolute best it can be. Sometimes it's quite, I play sort of, I have a mentor. I don't know if you know David Green. He used to work on the floor of the stock exchange back in the 80s or 90s.
Oh, wow,
anyway,
he's old.
Yeah, we actually put our stuff together now. Look, when I was learning to trade,
you like older guys?
Oh, look, he's a dirty old man.
Okay, all right, Kate. So
we put it together now.
Okay.
So he gives the levels to the floor still to this day, to Peter Tookman, who you probably know, Pete. And now we sort of tend to put our work together a little bit, more as an experiment and just to play around. So this chart that you've got there's a really strong cycle in finance and in economics of Saturn and Pluto. And they're these two really big, heavy planets. And there's a lot of history of them when they come.
See my cursor?
The ones that I've circled, and if you have a look at those circles, they all have a number of 29.
See it?
Yeah, look, the thing
129 here, 229s here. Is this more powerful because it has two 29s?
Galileo, I don't know if you've heard of Galileo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was kind of one of the first people that sort of looked into all this astrology. Look, astrology is maths, really. Proper astrology. Not like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow.
Do you really think Galileo was one of the first?
He was. I actually was just
How about Daniel? How about the wise men?
Look, I'm all sort of coming from the perspective how he did it and the stuff
okay, because that's been going on forever.
No. Like, his studies and the stuff that he did. And, I was just in Italy and I went and visited his, I looked at all the big tools he used and stuff. And, astrology is really maths. And those numbers are what are called degrees.
Right.
And until you've got these specific numbers, nothing will actually happen. So it's all about one kind of little symbol you've got there, which is a planet, making a specific degree, which is those numbers, to another planet. And you've got some really, really big heavyweight planets there. They're kind of the big bad boys. One of them's a good boy, but he's not talking nice to them. And you've got some really heavy planets all lining up there.
And that's what, March of next year?
That specifically is just the California chart.
Oh, I see.
That is the date you've got there on the top right, which is for March, 19th of March, 2020. I don't know.
How do I make money if I survive the earthquake? Buy a Caterpillar tractor and be there for the rebuild?
We've got a date coming up on the 21st of January, which are these two heavy planets, Saturn and Pluto, are going to they're going to come to the same number. And I would probably be maybe short into that. I'm going to be short. I'm a little short now. I think actually personally we top about on the 24th or 25th of this month. You're
talking equities?
Yes.
S&P, NASDAQ?
Yeah. Well, whichever that's going to be. It's
okay.
Hard to know.
All right, the market. Okay.
Yeah, it's, one thing with financial astrology, if Donald Trump is I don't know if anyone thinks he's manipulating or not. If there's manipulation, the astrology will show up eventually, but manipulation always comes first. You mean
like central bank, central planning?
Yeah. If Trump's just trying to keep this market up while the impeachment stuff's going on, if he's got the ability to do that, then all the astrology in the world is not going to.
How does he do it? Just with news flow?
Oh, look, my thoughts are probably the same as everyone else sitting out there tweeting it. Look, who knows? This whole Twitter thing clearly is quite something.
Yes.
I know a lot of financial astrologers were expecting quite a big crash maybe 3 weeks ago, which didn't eventuate. I've sort of stayed away from that stuff a little bit at the moment, but there's a very, very strong positive thing coming in a week, and it's very possible that because we're going to kind of top anyway at the moment. I think anyone with a chart can see that we're so stretched from the 200-day moving average. It's ridiculous.
So you're thinking this is a top, not the top?
I think it could be the top on the 24th, depending what time zone you're on, the 25th of December. I think it could be the top.
Okay.
So, I think I'll take a short position just after that, and I'll probably run it. And then this thing's coming on the 21st of January for everyone, not just California. This is kind of this big, it's called the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And I've put a link to an article on my Twitter page if anyone wants to have a bit of a look.
Which one is that? Is that this one, right, in the spring, the March out here?
That's underneath that. And I'll put some others up as well.
I see it. So do you correlate an earth change like an earthquake with a financial earthquake?
Look, my thoughts, and it's really out there that there's just so much wealth in California, that it almost, the entire US wealth is, or the entire London.
I think it's the 5th biggest in GDP in the world, right?
You've got Google, Facebook, all that. Look, I don't know. It's hard to something weird is going to happen here. I don't know what it is. I don't want to come out and say there will be an earthquake, but I'm watching this day.
Well, you did. You said event, outer ring.
Yeah, look, I did pick the last earthquake, so.
Well, okay, so you say you don't want to say it, but you write it down.
That's not a really good thing to be doing. But
okay, I'll have our IT guy edit out the outer ring.
Look, it's just I'm watching it with interest is probably the best way I could say it. But I would watch what the markets do on the 24th or the 25th, depending. I think you're the 24th over there.
I have an idea, Kate. I'll pay for a ticket, and you come out, and we'll have dinner on the coast on March 19th at 12:14, 15. What do you think?
Look, a lot of my work is time-stamped, and one thing with financial astrology, it does allow you to...
Is that an acceptance of my invitation for you to have dinner during the earthquake with me?
500 on the 24th, and we come down 1,000. It's 21st of January.
You don't want to be here? I mean, I'm offering you a free ticket. You don't want to be here in California on the 19th?
In December and into January, so we can do that possibly. Okay. Yeah, look,
Mr. Dale making a date. Yeah.
look, I'm
Okay.
one of the few people that will stick my neck out with hard dates. That's very few people. I put my money where my mouth is. That's the one thing with what I do being a trader and a financial astrologer. I actually take trades and stuff, Look, I do a lot of stocks, mostly equities primarily, because I find, look, my style of trading, I've sort of done there and sat there and done all the pairs and Forex and, I learned through the crisis, and I'm kind of into them. I like a good long swing trade now. That just suits my style. And one thing I think I'll say for people, if they prefer a swing, then that's a really good tool to use, because again, you've got that confirmation bias, so you can weather the ups and downs a little bit. If you're a real short-term kind of, intraday person, then it might not be so useful for you, because that's not where you're going with it. You've got to really
define swing to me. 2-3 weeks, a month?
Well,
4 days?
Look, some companies I will run for a good 6 months. Some I'll even to a year, or if I want to, have this sort of tax-free thing. It's all just an evolving style. Next year, I'm sort of just going to play with coming in right before, because I feel like a lot of my stuff, they manipulate down and I don't end up getting the best price, and I get really annoyed when people get better prices for me when I see the move. But yeah, look, I think, and look, I have been preparing my folio in saying that as well for the last I have had quite a large folio, and I have been selling out because of next year, not liking next year very much. So, there's a lot of preparation that you can do with financial astrology.
There's your website.
Yeah. And,
okay, I'm going to continue. I just want to let you know this comes up on it.
That's all right.
It hasn't been there. So
JP Morgan.
Anyway, you're not going to send an astrological virus into anyone's.
No, we don't do that. We're all about stuff.
You're all about love.
Way, because I think it's good. It's good karma. I don't charge it my work, and I give it all away. So, one thing with just related to, I guess, your markets, there are a couple of things, like if you're trading crude, you really need to watch Neptune, because Neptune rules oil. And every time when a planet goes backwards, it's called going retrograde. Every time Neptune goes retrograde, there's a crash in the oil markets. And then every time it goes forward, the oil markets move forward. Again, gold, you've also got Jupiter, which rules gold. And
I'm sure some of those don't work out.
They're pretty good. Look, Jupiter's about to change signs in the first week of December, and it's going from a fire sign into an earth sign. And when Jupiter's in fire, gold goes really well. Personally, I think gold's going to not do so great for the next, year or two. I think coming out of fire, I think it's had its oomph, and I think it's ready to just kind of plod along for a little while. And I probably not till 2022 when it goes into Aries, which is a big bullish fire sign. That'll be the next kind of really big up. If the markets crash, does gold do the inverse? It's really, really hard to sort of understand the inverse trades, I think, a little bit at the moment. They tend to, look, this is your domain, but to me, they seem quite different to what they
that
use.
time frame, if you believe in lags of monetary policy, and that the weakness we're seeing now is from QT that only stopped 6 months ago, but started over 2 years ago, and now we're feeling the effects of it, and the Fed is now reversing course. This new regime may not take hold for a year and a half or 2 years. So that kind of makes sense.
That would make, and back in before, there used to be an Aussie dollar gold correlation, all gone, and that,
Where do you keep your cash? You keep it in Aussie, or what currency do you move after all your big winning trades? Where do you move your cash into?
I'm going to actually split it up between currencies next year. I don't like the Aussie at all. I think we're in for a massive recession here, especially if we're so linked to China. Look, I was actually reading something before, and I think China's going to, I can't say, is it the yuan? I'm very bad at saying this.
No, that's good.
Yeah, December 28th, I found a date of the one that it's really going to hit a really, really bad downward spiral. The Aussie's very linked to China and us economically, so I'm kind of actually going to spread out a little bit. There's so much news now, and just split it up, because how do you know what to do kind of thing, But the Aussie dollar is ruled by Neptune. Like,
What are you going to split it up? You buying euros, dollars, what?
I think the euro is way overvalued. So I probably wouldn't go too much into euro. I don't know what your thoughts on
British
that.
pound?
Maybe some pounds and some US,
So the dollar will still be king?
I haven't done, it's very stressful when you're in Australia knowing that we're about to have an likely economic collapse. So we are at the mercy of China and, our housing markets and all that sort of stuff. So it's, there's a lot of planning needs to happen when you live here. I think with you guys being in the States, you're quite lucky that your markets and your dollar and, it's pretty much a pillar of strength. So you don't have to worry so much to exposure to other countries so much where you are, whereas we have a really big worry with our Chinese exposure and our ties. China have literally bought most of Australia's property and businesses and ports, and if they fall apart, we're in big trouble. The Aussie dollar is, and each currency is ruled by a planet, and you probably have to do some Googling and stuff. And the way I've done that chart, all currencies have their own chart like that. So once you kind of learn how to do this, you can run a chart for.
Do you do it based on natal when the currency came into
when
being?
When it first started trading. So one big thing with financial astrology and what's really, really important, particularly for indexes and for companies, it's the date it first starts trading on the exchange. It's not the date that, say, a company incorporates itself. It's always the date that the company trades to the public.
The IPO date.
Yeah, is exactly the IPO date. That's always what we use, and we never ever use an incorporation chart. You've got, like, obviously Mercury retrograde is really, I've got a whole YouTube thing on that. I never ever trade a company that IPO during Mercury retrograde. One thing they do say with Mercury retrograde, it doesn't matter what the market is, but you'll often have a trend change every 1 to 3 days, and then all your supports and
chop.
Yeah, which is really weird that the markets haven't chopped too much into this one. That's why you can sort of tell because funnily enough, Bitcoin is the absolute, reacts the strongest out of anything I've seen in Mercury retrograde. You have a little period before called a shadow, and for the last maybe 5 or 6, Bitcoin has plunged into every single one of them. You could almost
do you have a wallet not made out of leather filled with crypto?
No, I'm old school. I was trained by that dirty old man on Wall Street. So he's not really, but I'm really old school. I don't do all the crypto. I'm not saying that's anything good or bad.
Well, I mean, not trade it, but just believe in it.
No, I don't understand it. I don't trade anything I don't understand.
Good rule.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. And I like things that have an asset. I don't tend to love ETFs and all the bits, because they don't really own anything. They don't have assets. They don't, anything that's kind of just a made up thing.
How far out do you look? Like, for example, I interview Norm Winsky. He's been doing this for 40 years too. And he only looks out a month at a time for his subscribers and signals. I'm wondering, do you ever look out, like, what could happen? Like, I know you do. You're talking about 2021. Didn't you bring that data up?
Yeah, look, we have a 6 months. I think, you get too caught up in the what's going to happen. I think you really need to focus in the now a little bit as well. And I think
great advice.
Yeah.
Do the right thing today, and tomorrow takes care of itself.
Exactly, because you can also, the trade can really go against you when you're looking too far out, because not everyone else is looking that far out. They're looking at the chart of what's in front of them right now.
Right.
So, and that's what everyone's seeing, the same thing on the chart. And that's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? If everyone's seeing the same thing right now, you might prepare. Look, it's different when I'm preparing myself to sell stuff, because I know if a strength comes and it's, particularly on equities, like I can get out, and I don't wait. So that is a little different, but I would say 6 months tops. But with financial astrology, and it's one thing I've done in my book, there's almost like a cheat when 2 planets come together, it's Jupiter and Pluto. They're the two big sort of business. It's luck and business. And when these two planets come together, there is a rule in financial astrology that an equity will top out in price within 10 days either side of this coming together.
Is that
And
what Gann called planetary oppositions?
Opposition when it's opposite each other. This is called what's called a conjunction when they meet together. So it's actually it's the absolute opposite thing.
Okay.
And I kind of like to almost have like financial astrology for dummies. I sort of try to teach it or show it in a way that it's just using a tool like on a chart. So don't go and learn complex astrology. Look for this one thing. And
the Forrest Gump School of Financial Astrology.
Yeah. But, I've had two stocks do a 300% run, both on the same. This one transit has such a high correlate. And Raymond Merriman was someone that really found this. I think Raymond Merriman's probably the greatest financial astrologer ever. So he was someone that, and this has also come from a woman called Kay Shrinker. I don't know if you know of Kay. She's very famous in the States. And you can really look for one thing which will create a top in price. I probably should play around with some indexes. It doesn't happen, it's a 12-year kind of thing. So you've got to get lucky to find your stock that does that. So I kind of really, when you're saying I'm looking to the future, I'm looking for that one thing because I can almost find a date when I know a stock is going to top and that actually falls away dramatically after. So I sort of have this little crystal ball, I guess you could call it, where
so did you have something today? Because today could end up being a pretty nice reversal day in the S&Ps. I'm showing it right now if you could see my screen.
Look, I'm short personally because I just think it's too stretched. I'm not massive, again, I am chatting to my colleague in the US, and I know he is super. He does all these weird things.
Does your stuff, besides give you like a potential high or low, give you magnitude, or do you have to use a different tool for setting targets, just your charts and not financial astrology?
I put them together. I would never use one without the other. Often, like sometimes you've got to use common sense as well with this sort of stuff. Look, I don't know what you think with that moving average, but that's looking pretty far down.
Yeah, this is the 200 is here.
Well, even what's that about? I don't know if you've got
That's
a 50.
That's a
50. Look, David.
And this is what I teach. It's a throwover of a rising wedge, or a lot of people are calling it a megaphone formation.
Yeah, I mean, I use a 65.
When are we going here? See my cursor? When's this going to happen?
Oh, look, I just told you I don't look that far out. I just we haven't. It's funny thing is we haven't even
during the earthquake. Well, at least if I'm short on March 19th, and I end up in the sea, I guess I'm going to have to change my will to 17.
It's just a chart then, look, the thing is when you go short, and if you're short futures and you get it wrong, it's ugly. And we all know that. We've all been there. We've all done it. So, for someone that wants to play with futures, I think financial astrology is great because it's the only thing probably there is that can give you a date and time. And GAN as well, but that is financial astrology. There is nothing on a chart that can give you an exact date that something's going to happen.
Right.
Or a law of probability.
You get a window, right?
Yeah, I feel like as a trader, if you use time, you're going to have the edge over other traders.
Right.
Because time is one of the greatest.
The tincture of time.
Yeah, and there is.
Ever hear of a band called the Hands of Time?
No.
It was my band in high school.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. You didn't get on the charts in Australia in that case?
Barely made it out of Skokie. All right. Anyway, I was just curious. You were a groupie of mine back then.
So look, the real thing, I stress, it's just having the advantage of time. That is all financial astrology. It's another indicator on a chart. The proprietary indicator, I call it.
Right. Okay.
And then you put that together. You know, even today for me, you know, I had a stock that ran 300% and I saw it. I even missed the blow off top move because
that's okay.
even, you know, it was more powerful than I
So went
saw.
another 200% after you took it 300.
Well, look, I about 200, but you know, I picked that to the day before it ran. You know, I got
Isn't that fun when a plan comes together?
It's great, and it's even, you know, if you don't take it all, you don't take off. I've, you know, had takeovers to the day. But, you know, like a takeover is the most fun because you make your money that night and you're all done, you know, which is great. So there's a lot of, I find it more fun just finding it. I almost don't care about the price. It sounds crazy, but just the setup is so fun and it's so amazing to see it when it comes off. You know, the markets are a little different.
Knowledge is power, so you feel powerful having that type of insight, don't you?
It's quite wild. Even I don't understand how I can do it sometimes, you know, and it is all out through my Twitters. If people want to have a look, you know, the proof is in the pudding there. That's one great thing about Twitter. You can't just sort of say something, you know, it's all
you
there.
can too. And you know what people don't say on Twitter?
What's that?
I was wrong and I don't know.
That's exactly correct, you know, and you know, I don't know what's
Everyone say it 10 times. It's cathartic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead. All right.
That I was sure, and that ate me alive. You know, look, personally, I don't trade futures anymore. I don't like them. When you live in Australia, they're just awful. So if I ever trade the index, we have like our own little sort of Australian version of an ETF. I kind of only, I know David, he uses TVIX and stuff. He goes, and now he used to go straight TVIX, and now he's obviously doing all the calls and the stuff like that.
Okay, so let's kind of encapsulate this. Is this your next, since I don't know the time, and you say time's everything, when is this happening, or has it already happened?
That's the California. Look, I'll give you.
All right, that's okay. So this is March 19th.
That is March next year. No, that's next year.
When's this?
That's next year, 2020.
Okay, this is March. What's this?
That all is one date right there. That is just
where? This is all the one day.
Yeah. So if you go to the other one that's next to it, the picture, there's lots of red squares, and the squares are kind of bad. And look, anyway, so date-wise, I think with the fund, I'm looking at the 24th.
That's right around the equinox.
Spring. You're right. Exactly, it is. I hadn't actually thought of that, funnily enough.
Okay, well, you know, you could just send $100 to PayPal.
Yeah, I'll just send me your PayPal and I'll sort that out.
My Bakewire number. Anyway, you know, really, it was fun hanging out with you today.
Yeah, so let's look at the 24th and see if there's a big rally on that day, and then I would go short after that. I wouldn't say you should be. What I will do is I will take a short after that. I probably, in case that is a steam train. And then I will be looking.
The 24th of this month? You're going to take a short?
For 1 week.
Okay.
If we don't top before, but it could be a big day. Let's put it that way. And then maybe look
Well, you know, Thanksgiving is the 28th, and the Bears feast on Thanksgiving, and the Bulls feast on Christmas.
There you go. But, you know, it's funny, like, is there going to be a Santa rally? That's the other strange thing, you know, like, there hasn't been many, so unless something happens that there's no Santa rally. But yeah, I just maybe wouldn't short into that 24th if I'm not short yet. I don't know. It's a tough one, you know.
All right, well, go ahead.
Wait, what Yuan does on the 28th of December, and then we'll look at the 21st of January. And they're the next 3 dates.
I really appreciate you sharing that with us today.
No problem. I'll be tagging you if anything happens.
Okay. And the best way for people to follow you, Kate, is on your Twitter handle.
Right, is with the Kate S with 4 9s. Anyone can ever send me messages. I'm one of those people that's always happy to kind of just answer questions and stuff like that. So,
yeah, Kate, I hope that this holiday season, the pips just rain down on you.
Yeah,
and, look,
I've had a couple of good ones from the astrology, so I'm wrapping it up a little bit. So I thank you very much for that, and I hope everyone, if they are going short or long, you know, goes really well with it. And it's a really frustrating market for everyone right now. So pray for us for the Australian dollar for next year. So thank you for your time.
I'm always rooting for you, my trading warrior sister.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. We do our best in the big boys club, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you do better than the big boys. I know that.
yeah, look,
You and Mandy and the whole cohort of you
yeah. We've
Aussie
got that,
women dream team traders. So
yeah.
it was
Couple of us.
great. It was great talking to you today, Kate.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening. Okay.
All
All the
right.
best.
Good hunting.
Thank you. Going to bed. Good night.
Good night. Thanks for staying up, Kate.
Okay.
I'll
Thanks
see
again.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, everyone. You like the show? I don't know. Did I get a date or not, Forex Gal? She's not going to come and meet me here for the the earthquake. Anyone that wants to come and hang out with me on March 19th of next year, let me know. I'm taking reservations. And that's going to be a wrap. Keep trying. All right, everyone. Remember, when you look at the stars, just don't count the stars in the sky. Count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Good hunting the rest of the day, and see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Adios. You're very welcome.